what's going to be more successful? Doing something that you don't really like, but you're doing because it seems like the right thing, and it has success out there in the market with other people, or doing something that you love and talking about it anyways. All right, well, welcome to Office Hours, April 15th. It's Thursday today. Usually do this on Wednesday, but our day got away from us a little bit yesterday.
Is it tax day?
It's tax day.
Oh, that's right.
It is tax day
I already did mine.
here in the United States of the Americas. And it's actually a great day today because we are making moves with some businesses, companies just in a good spot. You guys did perhaps the best office hours ever last week. And I mentioned that I was considering firing myself from office hours just due to my tendency to monopolize conversation. But it was really good. You guys did an excellent job.
I appreciate it.
Really, really good.
Hopefully other people got some value out of it. We're just being open and honest, so.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But I was thinking today on the ride in about what would be good conversation today, and two polar opposites kind of stuck out to me, and I'm curious as to what you guys would like to talk about. But to me, I was thinking, how does somebody become risk tolerant? Because last week y'all talked a lot about risk, right? Being tolerant to risk. But if someone is risk averse, how do they actually become risk tolerant? Like, how does somebody become comfortable? What are some practical steps to practice? And then health. So Tiffany has told me that I need to become more vocal about health. And I agree with her.
I thought she was going to say be more healthy. I was like, I don't think you can be
No.
healthy.
No, more about it, because I talk about it all the time, and it's
You wrote a book on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive part of my life.
I agree.
So I think it should be talked about, and we're all healthy people, so
yeah, I think we can touch on both for sure. I think in general, if you want to become risk tolerant and you are around people who are not risk tolerant, well, there's something right there. You have to be surrounding, if that's what you really want, if you want to be more risky, if you want to put yourself in those situations to really grow and to be uncomfortable, you have to be surrounded by those people who do that.
That's a good
if you
point.
go home every day to whoever, your family, if you're around your family or something, I mean, even if you're doing these practices that are good, you're mostly around these people who are not practicing that. So that's going to affect you, and that's going to impede your growth big time.
Well, and I told Josh this last week too, but I have never been at a job where it was okay to take risk. Like,
gosh,
if a post goes out and it doesn't do well, like, it's okay.
Yeah.
And I have the leeway to do that.
Yeah.
Not that I want to do that, but I've never been in a position where that was okay.
Yeah. That makes me so happy. I mean, how do you ever, there are so many companies out there that just govern everything. And at the end of the day, like, if you don't allow people, I mean, this is kind of the epiphany that I had a couple of weeks ago. Like, why do you hire people for positions? It's to solve problems, to figure things out. And how do you figure things out? You make mistakes, you research, you see what works, you test. And, I posted an Instagram picture last week. It got less. It got like 6 or 7, maybe 8 likes.
Yeah.
I was staring at it like, what?
What's going on?
What is this?
Yeah.
But, it's all part of the experiment. I mean, I love experimenting. I think you guys are all really good at that too. And, having an environment that we're all allowed to experiment. I mean, our whole business is experimenting.
Yeah.
Like, we're doing something that is new. There's really we're kind of in a beautiful spot because many businesses that are more mature, they have a blueprint of how things operate. We don't have that. Like, we don't have a playbook.
I was just thinking that the other day too.
Really?
Of how, like, with social, because we're, building it from the ground up, but also too, like, our company, like, we have the flexibility to go into whatever direction we want.
Yep.
Or the flexibility to say, like, this isn't working, this is working, and move quickly on it. It's nice. That was my thought.
Yeah.
I think you're right, and people are so curious. Like, curiosity is something that I believe is just a natural trait, right? I mean, humans are just curious people.
Kids.
Kids are curious. Curiosity is dampened by the system and what is believed to be correct, and we're all curious about different pieces of social or different pieces of content or different platforms. You're curious about Quilt and Clubhouse and things like that. I mean, the system would tell you, okay, let's advertise on ways that work, print and radio and stuff like that, or Facebook only, and
Traditional media.
Yeah, exactly. And the ability to be curious, but then not only just
receipts. The back of receipts.
The back of receipts. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, Josh was approached one time at a previous job
several times
to put ads for his company on the back of receipts.
The back of grocery receipts.
Grocery receipts. Yeah. Man,
That's
all
funny.
of the
these
best
guys in suits.
Wow.
I
wonder what their commissions are on that.
I mean, just nuts. I just looked at them. I was just dumbfounded when they were giving their spiel. And I kind of felt bad for them, too.
Yeah.
It's like, if they go to some mom and pop place, that they've been doing things one way for 40 years.
Sure.
Of course they're going to do that. They don't know anything about the new media.
And how sad to be somebody selling that.
Yeah.
And probably be an avid user of Instagram and Facebook and all that, and then go out there and sell people thousands of dollars, or I don't know how much your bag.
It was
it can't cost
expensive.
much. Really?
Yeah, it was expensive.
Wow, that's amazing to me.
Yeah.
But it just makes no sense. But I mean, back to the point. I think that being able to take and risk is kind of it's a flexible word because it can mean a lot of things. Right. I mean, you can take a lot of risk, or you can still be talking about a risk, but it's a little risk. Posting a piece of content that might not hit is not as much of a risk as starting a business.
Exactly.
So I just think there's so many different varying levels, but it's all part of the idea of a character trait. I mean, it takes just as much tolerance to start a business as it does to put yourself on the front of a social media page. And you've never done that before. So it all takes the same level of thought and many times stress depending on what you've done before.
That's a good point. Especially too, if you're trying to become more risk tolerant, maybe start small. Start taking little risks every day until you can get to the point of, I want to take the risk to start my own business.
Yeah, 100%.
Even just walking up and introducing yourself to somebody.
Yeah, that is a good example.
So many people can't do that, or they have a fear of doing that.
Yeah.
Of walking up to someone and introducing yourself, or just having a conversation with someone new.
Right.
I mean,
they don't want to take the risk of being judged, so they don't do it.
Or they're just scared of I'm going to interrupt them, or they're going to think I'm weird, or I'm going to just stumble on my words, or all these things. And of course, the more you think about that, the more likely you are to do it. Yeah. If you have that thought in your mind. But just small. It really is a muscle that you have to exercise.
Yes, 100%. And this, how we're talking about sales this morning. I mean, sales is a perfect example. Like now, me walking in, I've been thrown out of so many buildings, things like that. I've been told F you, hung up, like security escorted me, stuff like that, that rolling into a business and telling them about what we've got is so easy for me just because I've built that muscle.
Right.
If I had never done that before, it'd be ridiculous. Like, it'd be completely terrifying.
Yeah.
One thing, I think a practical piece of advice is one thing that I noticed that I do that I've started to recognize is I say hi to everybody. Like, literally, like, I'll be walking anywhere, and if someone passes me, I go, hi there, hello. Like, I say hi. And I remember
I like that.
People in college used to hate it because they'd go, why do you say hi to all these people? I'm like, what are you supposed to do? Like yesterday I was walking through a neighborhood on my morning walk, and this lady was like gardening in her front yard, and I'm just like, good morning. I mean, and nobody really does that anymore. And that's one of those things that if you do that, that's a good little practical tip. Just say hello to people that cross your path or that walk your way. And instead of giving them just the half smile nod, like actually verbalize to them.
Totally.
like that.
And I think that's something that still a lot more people do in the South.
Yes, 100%.
Per capita.
100%.
Because, I have people,
Southern hospitality.
obviously we all know someone who's moving to Texas from the coasts at this point, and they're like, my gosh, everyone here is so nice.
Yeah.
Because I'll tell you, I've lived on both, and they are not nice.
Yeah.
People don't talk to each other. They don't look at each other. They pretend each other doesn't. I mean, it's really bizarre. And you come here, and everyone just smile, even just a smile or a hello, how's it going? And they generally mean it. It's such a shift.
Yeah.
It's such a shift.
It's very interesting.
But I will say with the risk tolerance, though, and we kind of talked about it too on the last podcast, but if you really think about it, the more confidence you have in yourself or in whatever you're doing, the more risk tolerant you're going to be.
Yeah.
If you're unsure about a business, if you're unsure about yourself, of course that you're going to think of 1,000 reasons why you shouldn't do it or why it wouldn't work. But if you're confident in yourself, of course you're going to walk up to anyone like who wouldn't like you.
Right.
If you're confident in a business plan, of course you're going to do it because it's something that you fully believe in and you're fully capable of doing, and it's going to be a great product. So I think there's a balance there as well.
I think it's the lack of judgment for yourself and judgment from other people. And this is something that is just so interesting to me that I've been really spending time on observing, and that is that we are all so focused on what everyone else is doing. Not even what other people think. It's what other people are doing. Like, we're focused on not so much what other people think about us. We're focused on what other people are doing because we want to fit in. Like, we want to fit in with what everyone's doing and how everyone looks. And we've talked about this before, this framework of how our social media posts are supposed to look, or our Instagram stories are supposed to look, or our TikToks are supposed to, whatever it is. And it's just so ridiculous. It's like I sit there and honestly think to myself, when I see everyone do this, I think, who are you trying to actually attract? Like, who is it? Like, tell me the people that you're actually trying to reach by looking like all of these other people. Like, who is the group of individuals that you're trying to reach?
That's a good note.
I don't think anybody actually knows.
Yeah.
No one knows. Yeah. Nobody knows. It's the most ridiculous, it's the saddest thing ever because there's this strong framework of exactly how we're supposed to be, supposed to act, supposed to look, right? Supposed to dress, all of these things. And when you really consider it, for what purpose? Like, what if you do all of those things and you look like everyone and you post like everyone and you dress like everyone and you talk like everyone, what do you actually gain? Like, what's the thing that you're trying to get out of being like those people? Like, acceptance? Is it some type of attention? Is it more followers? You don't even know those followers. So you're doing things that you don't want to do to impress people you don't even know or like or ever care to know. Or it just doesn't, it literally makes no sense to me.
I think that concept, along with the risk tolerance, actually goes back to the way that the school system is set up. Because in school, you're taught, basically, you're all taught the same way. You're taught to be like everybody else. You're taught, A's are good and F's you will get shamed for. Yeah. And then the tests are usually of cognitive. It's not about actual learning. It's just about remembrance, and yeah, exactly. So I think a lot of it, and especially going back to childhood, right? A lot of these beliefs and a lot of these things are ingrained in us early on, and it's a lot harder to get to those and start changing those beliefs that we get from childhood. So I think a lot of it has to do with just the way that the school, unless you're, I don't know, in some Waldorf-esque type of school, or in a private school, you kind of get caught in this way of doing things and not wanting to take a risk and not wanting to put yourself out there, not wanting to be too different, because then you'll get ousted.
It's a mindset shift for sure. Like it takes a lot of work. I used to be someone who's like paralyzed by fear of other people's judgment. And it's taken like a lot of work to get out of that. But it's a mindset shift that you have to work on. Like just not caring. Just
literally not caring. It's so fascinating. I think, so I did something as an experiment last week. I guess it was about 7, 8, 9. It was 9 days I did it. 8 days. And I would only go on social media to post. I didn't let myself look. I didn't look at any stories. I didn't look at any pictures. I never scrolled. Nothing. I simply went on only to post. I would post and I'm out. My screen time went from, I think it was 2 hours just on Instagram, 2 hours a day to 16 minutes, which gave me about, I think it was like, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So, I mean, it was like 14 hours of time down to, I think, 1 hour that I got back.
Want to know what mine is.
And I was like, it was nice because I remember I was just thinking about, okay, I'm only going on here to share things that I think are interesting and valuable. And then I'm gone. So I don't care what people comment. I don't care what other people are doing. And you know what else is interesting is it's really good for your creativity.
Yeah.
Because when your mind isn't filled with all of these filters and looks and outfits and lips and like all of this stuff, you just go, hey, I want to share that. I shared like a bowl of fruit. I was like, oh, bowl of fruit. I think that's
like a nice bowl.
I think that's really, it looked great. I think that's really interesting. And it wasn't like, okay, well, you know what? Maybe I need to like fashion some sort of post about this because this person just did something with food and then a picture of them and then they did this. It was just like, no, this just looks good. It was what came to my head and I went, yeah, that's something that is me. I want to post that. And I did it. And then I was gone. I was out. And I'll tell you what, it was awesome. And like I got an extra 12 hours out of it, of my week. Pair that with Club 515, I'm going to live to like 300 years old.
All the time.
I can't tell you how powerful that is. Because I've listened to a lot of people, a lot of influencers talk about some similar things, like using social media as a tool, not letting it use you, basically.
Yeah.
And you are 100% right in not looking at everyone else's posts and just doing what naturally comes to you creatively. And I think I've talked about it on a few podcasts ago, but I listened to a podcast with one of the head designers at Amazon. And he was like, he's a self-taught guy, never went to, design school or anything. But he was like, if you want design inspiration, look to your own life, not on Dribbble, not on Behance or any of these design platforms.
Yeah.
Look to the things that you enjoy doing. Look at, nature. Look at your favorite movies. Look at, any of these things instead of what everyone else is doing, because that just messes with your mind.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, so I 100% agree, and I think we should all do that a lot more often.
Well, and I think you kind of touched on it last week too. Confidence is detaching yourself from the situation. You said something along the lines of that. And it's kind of the same with social media and posting and stuff. Like, detach yourself from the likes, detach yourself from what everyone else is doing, and just focus on you, and your lane, and your journey.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, don't put things on a pedestal.
Right.
That's what it was. putting other people on a pedestal or events or jobs. As soon as you separate yourself from it, you're creating resistance. So, it's an important concept for sure.
Rhyming with with resistance. It's a sad existence if you spend your whole life doing that. Like what
are you living for? Other people or yourself?
Yeah.
Right.
I think about this a lot, that, the reason that I'm risk tolerant for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons that I'm so comfortable with it and that I just try everything is because I'm very aware that I only have one lap around this track. One lap, one shot, one life. That's it. I don't get another one. Like, that's all. And if I spend that entire time trying to match someone else's reality, that's a complete waste of my time. Whereas if I spend it like focusing on, when you're detached from, think about this. I mean, when we were all back in like middle school, social media didn't exist, right? So back then, it wasn't that long ago.
Friendster.
What was that?
Friendster.
Oh, yeah. We were all focused on what was right in front of us, right? We were focused on like calling each other on the phone, what was going on in our group, what was going on in our location here. Now we're focused on, we can look at anybody in the world. We can compare ourselves to everybody, every single human being that's doing better than us and looks better than us and is making more money than us and has cooler companies than us and like better everything. And so we spend all this time looking at these people going, oh my gosh, oh man, like chasing it. You have no idea what's going on in their life.
Right.
No idea. And what a miserable existence to spend your days that are going away, by the way. And I think I looked it up. Like if I plan to live to 120, and so I think I have like 36,000 days left.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, okay, the clock is ticking, and while I'm not going to spend that time looking at what every other, and I've had to kind of recalibrate myself because I do try to go for guys like Casey and Nick and people that are, really crushing it out there. At the same time going, okay, they are crushing it because they have not taken influence from other people.
Totally.
They have created their own look and feel. And that's what people don't, that's what they miss the most, is everybody that they follow who has popped, they're doing something that's totally different. That's their own creative.
Exactly.
This is why music artists have always been famous people and will forever be famous people, is because the ones that really hit are the ones that do something totally different.
Unique to them.
Totally unique. It's their own creativity that they have spun up. It's not like created out of a hodgepodge of 15 different people that they idolize and then they create this sound that sounds like everybody else. How many vloggers are out there that are not successful that look just like Casey Neistat's vlogs?
Exactly.
Myself included. Even though I only did like 7 of them or 6 of them, it was like I started looking at those going, okay, what am I doing? Same music.
That's not me.
Same music, time lapse, drone footage, conversation, more filler, end. That's not actually what I would like to share. Like that is not Evan. That's not actually what I want to put out there. And so it's like,
I'm telling you, I remember the feeling as a kid, because I was kind of weird as far as like my imagination.
By the way, I want to see the mirror picture.
Oh yeah, I have it
from last
week.
We
need to see it.
I have it, yeah. But I remember just being so, just looking back on it, from a perspective, I was a freaking bizarre kid. Like the stuff that I would imagine up and the things that I would do and the whole worlds that I would kind of build in my mind and go outside and play with like my Legos or whatever. And at some point, and I think it happens to a lot of people, they just get that imagination, they get it, they stray away from it. They stray away from it, either from school, usually for the most part, school, or just growing up and you have other activities you have to do or you have to get a job, and this or that. But I think
Life
it's
happens.
just so important to connect with that inner imagination, inner creative, that's totally unique to you.
Right.
It's totally unique. And you're right. And this we can kind of trail into more of the health stuff if you want.
We can talk about whatever.
But
like
I'm just saying as an example, these fitness guys, I have the program. This is the program, and it's like, well, everyone has different genetics. Everyone has different history, different all these things, and so what works for someone will probably not work for the rest of the masses.
Yep.
It's not a one size
it's
fits
not
all.
It's not saying that is not valid for that person. But one size fits all doesn't work in any of these cases or any of these sort of things.
No. I had a friend call me from ASU last week, and he just kind of, a lot of those people call me all the time just asking for like, hey, what do I do after school and stuff like that. And he was like, man, I don't know really what I love. Like, I don't really know how to find my passion and blah, blah, blah. I said, what did you like to do when you were a kid? And I think you've probably said that. Like, we've all, and he kind of got quiet. He was like, man, that's a really good question. I'm like, what made you excited when you were a kid?
Yeah.
I said, when I was a kid, I loved building things.
Yeah.
I loved I remember being on the beach and like gathering up all these other kids on the beach and like giving them all jobs to like build this sand thing, and like there were all these different castles, and I was like, you go here and you go here, and like you're out, you're fired. And I was like 5.
Fired.
And I loved that. Like, that was so much fun to me. And like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Like I love that. So like, what did you like to do as a kid? The other thing I was going to say was the lack of judgment thing. So, Tiffany, fitness competitor, way into fitness and health. A couple months ago, she's like, man, I'm really going to get going on the fitness thing on my Instagram. I'm going to post more about it. I'm going to talk more about it. And, I'm going to show more workouts. I'm going to talk about what people can be doing and this and that. And that lasted for a while. And she was like, I don't enjoy this.
Yeah.
And I asked her, I was like, what do you really want to talk about? She goes, I just want to talk about plants. And I was like, do that.
Right.
And, it's just such a cool thing because you go, what's going to be more successful? Doing something that you don't really like, but you're doing because it seems like the right thing, and it has success out there in the market with other people, or doing something that you love and talking about it anyways, regardless of what everybody else thinks or what is going to, who knows if there's a giant market for plant talk. There actually is, now that I found out.
Especially
there's a huge plant market.
Growing
It's
massively.
massive. But, from fitness to plants.
Yeah.
But like, why would you not do that? And I think we all have something like that.
Right.
Like, everybody has that thing where they're like, man, I love.
It's random, but I love it. That type of,
It's random, but I love it. Talk about that.
The podcast that you sent the other day with Gary Vee, I liked his advice too. He said if you're struggling to find your passion or kind of your next steps, look at the content you're consuming and that you really enjoy watching. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's car videos or plant videos or how to garden.
Sure. And talk about that stuff.
Right.
The other thing is, I give people permission to not do any of it. Like, if you just don't like it and you don't want to be on social and you don't want to post that, you don't actually have to.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot be on social media. I know a lot of people that aren't on social media and live their lives completely disconnected of what's going on out there in the social world, and they're completely happy. They love their jobs. They love their hobbies. They hang out with their families. They spend zero time on their phone other than to call, text, and look something up on the internet.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a social media person. I think there's so much voice out there of like, you have to do this to be successful. Right. You have to have I sound like Bernie.
Like an
you have
unspoken
to be,
pressure kind of. Yeah. Yeah.
And you're right, an unspoken pressure. And like, you don't actually have to do that.
Right.
You don't have to. if you don't want to. I want to. You don't have to.
Yeah.
It's not a requirement to be that way.
Right.
And as far as finding your, like, everyone freaking talks about this. Oh, I find my passion. It's like, I believe everyone already knows their passion. They're just not connected with it. And I think a good rule of thumb for everyone in life is just noticing more throughout the day when you get those rushes of excitement for whatever it is. It could be a small thing.
That's good.
It could be something that you've never done before. It could be whatever. But learning to, like, trust that feeling and go with it, even if it seems bizarre or weird, because something within you is like, yeah, let's do that. You know? You never know where it's going to lead, but I think that's kind of like a good rule of thumb to start feeling into that.
Right.
And you'll probably lead yourself to where you're wanting to go.
That's a really good tip.
And if you are somebody that does want to be active on social, or even if you're not doing it for other people, you just want to do it for you, finding something that you actually like and doing it, that's really where the magic happens. I mean, think about all of these people that are like chefs on YouTube. Like, what is it? Wesley told me about it. Something with Babish.
Oh, yeah.
That guy.
Yeah.
And then Sam,
He's really
the cooking
good.
guy. Like,
oh, we love Sam the cooking guy. Yes, we watch his YouTube all the time.
Yeah, so these guys are not, they didn't set out and go, okay, what's the market going to accept? What do I have to do? What's going to be really well accepted to make money on YouTube? They're people that
enjoy cooking,
love to cook. And they went, you know what? I'm just going to start filming myself cooking. Think about who's the guy, the bald guy, the unboxing guy. Maybe he's not bald. But he was like the original unboxing guy. And like one of his first videos was literally just his camera sitting there. Maybe it's been his phone. And he's like, okay, today I'm going to open this new iPhone. Wow, look at this packaging. And now he has 12 million subscribers and people love it. But
who would have thought to film something like that?
The decision to do that had nothing to do with other people's influence. It had to do with Sam loved cooking.
Right.
That guy loved MKBHD, loved taking videos of tech gear, of phones and cameras and like voiceovers and like doing review. He did that anyways. Yeah. So he just started posting it, and then boom, people love it because they understand that passion.
Yeah.
If you love to bake, talk about that. And if anything, if you're not even doing it which I would recommend not doing it with the intent of building, having your income based off of it.
Totally.
Just do it to have it as a memento.
Yeah.
Think about like when we're all 90 years old, and our great grandchildren can look back at our feeds from 2015 and see like what were great grandma and grandpa doing back in 2015.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, look, they were looking. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Or they can see hundreds of YouTube videos on like you cooking stuff, and like they can see, I mean, think about Sam's great grandkids when he dies in, however many years and generations go by, like they're going to have all of this document. I mean, just like.
It's crazy.
Do you guys watch Sam the cooking guy?
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah,
love him.
He's so.
I haven't seen
What's
him.
his thing? And now we taste, or.
And now we mix.
And now we mix, yeah.
Like and now we taste. That's the other one. And now we whisk.
Yeah.
And we whisk.
He's great.
That's funny.
Yeah, he's hilarious. But you see these people, there's a real estate guy. I don't follow him, but I've seen him out there. And
the brown-haired guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He talks about how he like was making good money in real estate, but then like now he's making like $1 million a month on YouTube videos. And
what does he talk about?
Just real estate.
Real estate
market.
Also, though, like if you want to if you're strictly into understanding why more like YouTube accounts make more money than other YouTube accounts, if you're in the finance or banking or real estate, that's like the biggest. You get the most money from those sponsorships.
Interesting.
If you were talking about minimalism and living with less, you're probably going to get that many sponsors.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Like, hey, I'm going to tell you how to buy more things.
Yeah.
Sponsors.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you how to throw all your crap away.
Yeah.
No one wants to sponsor that.
Wow.
So what's funny about his videos is you've seen the production quality grow.
Graham Stefan?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
You've seen the production quality grow over time, just like HiredUp's podcast has been. I mean, I used to do this podcast on a card table, like a plastic card table. But the point is that there's still not even, like, it's hard for me to get over the hurdle of like editing and production quality and all of that stuff, because it's like that guy, the real estate guy and finance guy, he just has a camera right here with a cup of coffee and his laptop.
Yeah.
And then he'd like, we'll watch something, and then he talks to the camera about it.
Basic.
And that's his whole channel.
Yeah.
And that's what he does. I mean, he puts some edits in there, but it's not some movie that he's making every
Right.
time, you know?
Right.
So anyways, I think the point here is, if you don't want to make anything on social, you don't have to. If you're passionate about something and you want to talk about it, just talk about that thing.
Right.
And stop, please, for the love of God, thinking that you have to look like everyone else. No one wants you to look like everyone else. Like, that doesn't even make any sense.
Right.
And that is a sentencing for unhappy lifestyle. Like, think about, so again, this is why I almost fired myself from office, because I monopolize these conversations.
It's a good conversation.
But I think a lot about like my kids, like having to answer to my kids for stuff. The person that I marry, one day I'm going to have to answer to them, like why I chose that person to be their mom. You know, I mean, that's a big deal. It's like, am I really making, I'm going to have to answer to people one day that their entire life is affected by that person. Or, social, like, hey, you know what? I spent my life trying to look like other people, trying to sound like other people, trying to act like other people. I didn't really do that many things that were unique. I just kind of went with the trends. I was like this.
A sheep.
I was a sheep, just kind of moving with the herd. Like, I never really broke out because I thought that's what everybody had to do.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I wasn't super happy. Like, how would I ever tell my kids to be creative themselves? So
that's a good point.
Anyways.
Yeah. Walk the talk.
Yeah.
And also, if you're going to put yourself out there, why would you want to be like everyone else? I mean, if the whole goal is putting yourself out there, why get lost in a crowd? There's no point. You might as well just not do it.
I think, too, whenever it comes to comparing yourself on social media, you have to, be really happy with yourself in your life, because if you're not, you're always going to be looking at someone else and thinking, I wish I could do that, or I wish I looked like that. You have to be comfortable with yourself. You have to love your life. You have to, romanticize it.
Yep.
So that way you're not always looking to someone else.
It is I said this to somebody on Instagram the other day. The comparison game on social media is the real pandemic. Like, everybody trying to look like everybody is a pervasive disease. Like, it is awful. Everyone wanting to look like other people and actually experiencing anxiety. I know a girl recently, I won't say who it was, but a friend of mine who literally said to somebody that I know, I'm in a really bad place. I'm not confident right now. I'm not close with this person, but the mutual friend told me this. I'm not confident right now. I just feel like I'm not good enough. Like, I just don't match up because all of these girls out there are so pretty. They're so good looking. They have these great lives. They have all these followers. And I just feel really, just like I'm not there. And I told my friend, I'm like, okay, you've got to tell her that this is insanity. Like, this is a completely made up thing, but it's so real.
My best tip for that is you have to heal yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That comes from your inner demons. That doesn't come from any exterior thing. You have to work on healing yourself and your own traumas, so that way you don't have that mindset anymore.
That's good.
And also, like you were saying before, I used to date this girl in college, and she had a story about how when she was younger, her and her dad would walk along the beach, and then at some point they got to a point where there was this mansion on the other side of the beach, and she would look up to her dad and she would say, "Oh man, I would really love to live there in that giant mansion by the beach." And her dad looked at her and said, "You don't know what's going on behind those doors. Just because someone on social media has a bunch of followers and is posting all the time and they're smiling, you have no idea what's going on the other side. You have no idea if that person actually feels like crap all the time." And sometimes the people who have the most followers have the most pressure on themselves, and they're actually the most self-deprecating.
Right.
Because now all these people are building them up to be something that they know that they're not.
Right.
Yeah. You have to, when you are in that moment, ask yourself this question. Am I trying to look just like someone else? Are my posts and my content predicated on what everybody else is doing? Or is my content based off of, I'm really trying to help this certain demographic? Right. Identify, who am I actually trying to talk to? And then, am I trying to just look like other people, or am I trying to really help them? Think about Casey Neistat. His goal is to build creativity in himself and get young filmmakers to make stuff. Nick Bear, his goal is not to look like anyone else or their pages. His goal is to make people healthy, with inspiring them to run marathons, sharing his story of how he grew his body. He has this supplement company, how he's grown that, all of this. So identify, are you just trying to look like everyone else? Are you just trying to post so that you can keep up with the Joneses, which is a loser's game, because there's always somebody better looking, bigger, faster, stronger, richer? Or are you actually trying to help people?
Yeah.
Are you really trying to reach a group of people that would find this interesting?
It's almost like remove yourself and start thinking about, how can I help others, not how do I look or how do I portray myself. But more of I think it's a servant mindset.
Yeah.
I think that's the right term.
100%. It's a servant mindset. And I think so here's what's interesting is that sometimes people will recognize this and they'll go the other way, but they'll do it in a way that's actually kind of still jumping on the train. An example. Hey guys, I'm not always confident. This is what I look like with no makeup on, or this is me right out of bed, no filter, don't always look great. Okay. Well, I think that's good, but that's kind of doing the same thing. It's like everyone does that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like, do you really want to share that? Or are you just trying to do that to boost some following, to get people talking? You're so brave.
Yeah.
You're beautiful.
Yeah.
We love you.
I talked about this before. It's been a while, but using vulnerability to gain followers. Because there's this whole conversation about the more vulnerable you are and the more open you are, the more people will trust you and like you and want to follow you. And there's a lot of people out there who hack that and do it just for the sheer fact of, if I share this, if I talk about this, I will get more followers.
Yeah. So BRIEONNA, for those of you who don't follow her, what's your Instagram handle name?
BRIEONNA Wall.
Okay. One of the best, over the last couple months, you have curated one of the best Instagrams I've seen. And I'm not kidding you. I mean that. Your journey with the gym, your makeup products, your health, all of that stuff. It's exactly what you just said. It's not to build, and this is just what I see. It's not to build this great big following and look like everybody else. You're sharing what probably you don't feel most comfortable sharing.
Right.
but you're sharing it to where it's like, you're just sharing it.
Yeah.
You're just sharing it because it's interesting. You have fun sharing it. It's your journey, so you want to let everyone else know what's going on.
Well, it's funny you say that because I recently have kind of got tripped up a little bit of just, I feel like I talk about too many things and I feel like I need to niche down with my Instagram. And so I'm like, well, I'm over here talking about fitness and like, I'm not a fitness influencer by any means. I'm just starting my own journey. But then like I really like makeup and skincare. And so I feel like sometimes I just, I don't know, have too many topics going on.
I think you can do it all.
Yeah.
As long as you really love it.
Yeah.
And don't feel pressure on yourself to talk about it.
Right.
You know, I wanted to do the fitness thing for a long time because I feel like I have a different perspective on it than a lot of, especially the male influencers.
Right.
But it kind of got to a point where I was just like, I don't want to take my phone to the gym and film this. I really don't.
Yeah.
You know, so it just wasn't something that I was passionate enough about to provide that sort of, I mean, I could talk about it, but
right.
You don't love it.
I mean, I love doing it, but I don't love necessarily talking about it unless we're talking about health or something that I can share my experiences that way, like on a podcast or something.
Right.
But doing it as far as here are my workouts for the day or the week and showing that gym stuff, not my jam.
Yeah.
But maybe that's an opportunity to do something different too.
Yeah. I think there's an opportunity for people to stop sharing. Like, you look at so many fitness accounts, men and women, and it's like this finished product.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, like, look at me, you know? And I think there's a big opportunity to go, okay, guys, so today what we're going to do is leg day. And here's my workouts. I'm going to go in there. You know, you don't have to film in the gym, but like actually talking about the process of what you're doing, and not just showing like, wow, like the flash and the perfect lighting and here it is, but like just sharing like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. Hey, I picked up an interesting tip the other day from somebody that says to bend your knees more. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff is kind of cool because people can follow along with that. And anyways.
I agree.
Well, this is good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed this.
Yeah.
Good talk.
2:15.
Yeah. There's a lot going on in the office, I'll say, at HiredUp right now. And it's, you know, I kind of say it every week, but it really is a really exciting time. Yeah. And we're just doing so much. And we see the trajectory going on. And it's really, really exciting. So
to the moon.
Yeah. To the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good time. We have a lot of interesting things going on. It's very motivating, very inspiring right now. You know, it's just fun. Yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's fun juggling a lot of stuff, you know, like keeping, like we talk so much in here about personal stuff, like all of that, and then company stuff and business stuff and relationship stuff. Like life is just this awesome game of multiple buckets.
Right.
And you have like a limited amount of water, which is time. And how can I distribute time into each of those buckets? Well, stay healthy, stay happy. Please download the HiredUp app. If you know anybody that runs a business, owns a franchise, owns a string of businesses, any business, restaurants, hotels, companies, doesn't matter. If you are out there and you need to screen people quickly and you know people that are hiring that could use an app to where human beings can actually be seen as human beings and not a piece of paper, please, please, please pass the HiredUp app along. And if you know salespeople that are, or people that are looking for marketing and sales jobs with great pay, send them our way. Send us a DM on our Instagram at HiredUpOfficial. DM us and, you know, let us know who it is. If it's you, then that's great. Again, download our app, rate and review it. Please subscribe to this podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and now TikTok.
Yep.
You guys are doing a great job with that.
All the things.
And Oh, if you have any suggestions on the app, if you have the app and you have some suggestions on, some look and feel or things that maybe don't make sense or features that you'd like or maybe don't like, send us a DM on Instagram as well. We would love to know that.
Yep.
All right. Have an excellent week.
Awesome. I guess.